You know I'm a hustler, hustler. You know I'm a hustler, hustler.
Hey, it's your boy Lauren back again with another episode. Today I have a very special guest, mindset master named Eric Raja. He's the owner of Immortal Man. He helped men take power back and get rid of all the pain, all the suffering they've been feeling so they can be their best self for their family, for God, for the community around them. Really excited to talk about some of the thing that he's been working on and some of the messages that he's been trying to share within this past couple months. So welcome to the show, Eric.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you having me on here.
Uh, so we talk a little bit offline about where you came from and how you get to where you are today. Can you give the listener a little bit about why are we here? Why are you here?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So first of all, I'm here for purpose. I'm here to give people value. It's that simple. I was given a second or a fourth or a fifth chance in life, and I feel that it's my duty to go and spread a message and be an inspiration to people that may be struggling in life or may need a push or maybe just need to hear some real truths in their life to become their best. I am a man of past addictions. I grew up in a dark childhood, a lot of abuse, a lot of trauma. I mean, straight to the point, at 7 years old, I was molested by a leader in our church. And that's where the pain started. And so you could tell. I mean, you can imagine what that would do to a 7-year-old kid, but it messed me up. It threw me for a loop. I didn't really understand what was going on, but it was the beginning of a long darkness in my life. At age of 8, I started using drugs, kind of accidental. Found my mom's stash, took it, made me feel normal. And then I started using drugs because of it allowed me to just stop feeling some pain, right? That led me into 16 years of drug addiction, turned into whatever household items I can get my hands on, to smoking weed, to doing cocaine, to doing opiates, to eventually at the age of 17 getting kicked out of my parents' house for possession of cocaine. My dad was a cop. Dad was actually a Folsom prison guard, and he found a little stash of mine, and he gave me 24 hours to leave the house. He said, "Get out of my house. You got 24 hours or I'm calling the cops." And so at the age of 17, really just homeless. I had a car. I had a job. I was working at Round Table making pizzas at the time. And I had a cocaine addiction. And so the first night I went to a friend's house, a guy I never really hung out with, and I slept on his couch and woke up in the morning and I was telling him, I said, "Hey man, like I'm homeless. Like I just lost everything." And I was telling him about my addiction. I was telling him, like, I need to quit. I need to get my life together. Like I knew what I needed to do. And then he pulls out a baggie of white powder and he goes, "You want a bump?" And me being an addict, you know, yeah, of course. Even though I just told him this story, you could see how the devil works in our lives, right? And I took a bump, a snort, and he asked me about 20 minutes later, it burnt really bad. He asked me, he's like, "How long have you been doing methamphetamine?" And I didn't know that's what I just did. I knew it tasted weird. I knew that it was different. It burned different. And I that was I got really upset, but that was the first night I tried methamphetamine, and I got extremely addicted to methamphetamine after that. I ended up going back to his house at night and smoking it. And then I became an extreme addict of it for about 2 years straight. So for about 2 years, newly homeless, young, addicted to methamphetamine, I ended up getting into affiliating with gangs. I lost my family, and so you can see, like, I believe that this country, the number one problem in this country is that we have identity issues. We don't know who we truly are, and a lot of that is because we're not really shown who we are. We're not accepted as children in our own family. Like I was kicked out at 17, and I'm not saying this as a victim. I'm saying this is 100% my fault. But I I met some people, very evil people, and one of the most notorious gangs in the country on the West Coast, and they accepted me, and they gave me a place to sleep, and they gave me love. And so I immediately went, those are my people, right? When we have identity issues, we don't know who we are. We'll attach to anything that accepts us and anything that makes us feel good. And so I became affiliated with this gang. Um, and I'm telling you, bro, this is one of the most that I've seen some of the most evil things this world can can show you. I spent time with people that have done some of the most evil things ever, stuff that you don't even see on movies. And that became my new life. And so, of course, you're going to hang around evil people. You're probably going to become one of them. So I started distributing methamphetamine for this gang and doing bad things, seeing bad things, but I was still young. And then I ended up going to jail. The age of, I believe it was 19. I went to jail, Sac County Jail. And it was the first time in jail. And I got there and I was about 130 pounds. I hadn't been eating for 2 years. I haven't really been sleeping. So I was all sucked up and small. And I just remember a guard telling me, he's like, why are you here? And I was scared, bro. I was so afraid. I wasn't a tough guy, bro. I was not a tough guy back then. I was scared shitless. I was in a place where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what my life has turned into. And so when I got out, by the grace of God, I won my trial. So I don't have any felonies. But I won my trial, and then I ended up moving, and I ended up just continuing to get into more trouble and more trouble. And it turned into Xanax, and then it turned into alcohol, then it turned into marijuana. It turned, you know what I mean? I just kept chasing this identity that I was missing. And about 6 years ago, I got to the point where I lost everything. I was married, had a kid. My kid was about 1 year old. And I woke up one day, her bags were packed. She said, we're leaving you. You're never allowed to see your son again. I was a bad person, bro. I was not a good person. And that was the day I lost everything. And so I spent about 4 months getting back into the hard drugs, just pretty much drinking myself to death, doing whatever I could to numb the pain. And about 4 months later, I sat on my bed and I put a Glock in my mouth and I put my finger on the trigger, and I had no one to call and I had no one to leave a note to. And I decided I was going to end my life. And so as I was pulling that trigger, one of the things that happened is that I had a vision. Like, God gave me a vision. It wasn't a good one. It wasn't one of those like great visions people have. No, it was a vision of my son living without a father and my wife being loved by another man. You know what I mean? And so like it was enough for me to pull that gun out of my mouth. And then that was the start of my transformation. I decided at that point, it was the first time in my life I ever decided that this is actually my fault. All my actions from my past brought me here. And because of that, when you take ownership of your life, you also realize that if you change your actions, it'll change your future. And so that was the part that changed everything. I started getting into going to the gym, simply just taking care of myself, trying to find new addictions, right? Good, healthy things. So I got into the gym. I started eating right. I started reading my Bible. I started waking up early. I started doing gratitude. I started doing all these things that we hear now that help personal development. And within 6 months, I completely changed my life. Within 6 years, now, if you look from there to today, I've put on 100 pounds of muscle mass. I've been on some of the biggest podcasts in the world telling my story. I've helped thousands of people. I've reached over 300 million people with my content. I've built two successful coaching businesses that have helped hundreds of people. I've helped over 500 people transform their lives. And it was because, number one, I decided that I was going to take control of my life and take my power back. Number two is because I gave my life to Christ, and I decided like that there was too much pain for me to heal on my own. And so I needed God to do that. And so with that obedience, I'm here and happy to tell the story. So that's pretty much my story in a nutshell, without getting crazy. But yeah.
I think there's a lot to unpack here, man. I would say that looking back now from I'm an outsider, so it's more or less those things that happen to you more or less build you who you are today. Maybe you wouldn't be who you are today if you didn't go through all that shit. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So I mean, I'm the type of person that I embrace the struggle and the past and the mistake, and as long we don't look back, like it just give us experience how to deal with life, right? Because life is suffering, you
Yeah.
know, one way or another. Maybe people don't feel it as bad here in the U.S. because we get spoon fed everything, and it's a
Right.
free country, so people can do whatever the fuck they want. And that I always tell people, you know that you're in the U.S. when you go down to the airport, like the international airport, and everybody's fat.
Yeah.
You know you're over in Japan, in East Asia or whatever country that not the U.S. People are actually fit, you know,
Yeah.
and that is, to me, I think that is because we have freedom of choice, and then when you have freedom of choice, and like you say earlier, that people don't have an identity, they're going to find their identity in addiction.
Mhm.
And what's the two things that's legal that we anybody can do here is
Food and alcohol.
out food and alcohol, and maybe if your state got legal marijuana, maybe marijuana.
Right.
But that's a problem, man. Addiction is the problem in the United States. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that people are trying to fill a God-sized hole, you know,
Mm, yeah.
and
Uh,
they'll never fill it unless it's with God. You know what I mean?
yeah. So talk to us how your faith had carried you to here, because
Yeah.
moving to all your story and the timeline, everything, it seems like when you need him the most, he appears. So talk to me a little bit about your faith.
So part of my story, the beginning part where I said I was molested in a church at 7 years old. This is where people are like, "How are you a Christian?" It doesn't make any sense. This is why I believe we go through things so that we can have a testimony, because most people go to a church and they get judged and they're like, I'm never doing that again. I got molested in that church and I'm a Christian. So why, you know what I mean? Why are you giving up so easily? Like, this is part of the story, and the lesson I try to teach is like, as far as Christianity or faith goes, is like, God didn't do that to me. Man did. You know what I mean? Like, we got to stop thinking that, like you talked about free will and choice, right? Like, if God stopped us from doing bad things, then we want to be very happy with God. You know what I mean? Like, we wonder why he allows bad things, but if he ever had any control over our actions, we'd be pissed too. Like, you got to choose, you know what I mean? Like, bad things are going to happen. It doesn't mean that God's doing it to you. Yes, he allows it, but he allows it for a reason. And now I can stand here with a story and hopefully even get people to go back to church, you know, because their church history isn't as bad as mine. So maybe they're like, hey, maybe I should go to church and stop complaining. So that's where my faith started. I knew from the beginning that God didn't do that to me, man did. I started to hate man and have a lot of resentment for man, but never for God. Like, throughout all this trauma and all the struggle, I felt his presence. Now, I gave my life to Christ as a child. No, I gave my heart to Christ as a child, but I didn't give him my life until 6 years ago. That makes sense. You know what I mean? And I think this is what we see in societies, that people, they make a choice, but they still want control, and they don't fully embrace whatever they want, right? Whatever's calling them, whether it's their career, their success, their mission in life, or their faith. Like, we're always half in, half out, and it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? True transformation doesn't happen until you fully committed to whatever is calling you to commit. And so, like, God, I didn't really truly commit my life to Christ until that gun came out of my mouth. And then that's when the transformation happened. but my faith is, it's my faith, you know what I mean? Like, I have a different story than others, and I'm not the type of Christian to shove it down people's faces, but I'm gonna profess my story because, like, there's proof that it's real in my story. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people hurting. There's a lot of people in pain and wondering. They're confused about life. They don't know what's going on in the world, and they're constantly in fear and confusion and worry. And I'm telling you, like, God is constant, right? Like if you attach your worth to God, you don't have these ebbs and flows and these ups and downs. You sit on solid ground, right? And I mean, that's literally the fourth painful truth that I talk about, is that your stability as a man is a direct reflection of your relationship with God. And the reason why is because, like, the greatest gift that a father can give you, right? If are you a father?
Yeah.
You are. So as a father, the greatest gift you can give your child is unwavering stability and strength, right? It is becoming immovable and unshakable for that child. So when he gets scared or she gets scared, she could put out her hand, and guess whose hand is there? Yours. And then she feel, or he feels safe again. That's what God is for us. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what he is for us. So in times of crisis and chaos, when things aren't going the way we talked about, struggle, when things are when we're suffering and struggling in life, God offers us that hand. If we choose to grab it, then we have that stability in our lives again. I believe that godless men are unstable men. I'm a huge believer in that, because their worth is attached, and their identity is attached to things that perish, things that go up and down, and things that aren't steady, right? Their identity is attached to their business, and they have good months and bad months. Well, guess what happens on the bad months? You feel like a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Or what happens when your car, you can't drive the Lamborghini, like, and you can only afford the Honda Civic, like, you feel like a piece of shit, like you feel unworthy of life. But when we attach our identity to something that's constant, that never shakes us, unmovable, then we can always lean on that. We can always have that stability in our life, which gives us confidence. It gives us a backbone as men. So living a godly life is a stable life. I believe that.
Yeah, I believe so as well, man. You say something that godless man, unstable man, is more or less likely that I think people that haven't found God or don't believe in God, and this is not a diss to anybody. Anybody can believe whatever the fuck they want to believe.
Yeah.
It's a free country, but if you don't have something higher than yourself to go to when you're suffering, then life's going to be tough for you, and life is going to be hard for you, and life is going to be um, very dark for you per se, because you go into this phase of nihilism.
Mm,
You don't believe anything, you don't trust anybody, everybody is full of shit,
yeah.
so you're starting to have this distrust with the world. And I see it a lot in addicted men per se, and women too, when they just the the only option that they have right then is whatever that they are doing to give them that instant gratification. There's no God in that moment. It's just playing with the devil. And then when you
Totally.
play with the devil for the long time, and I always say this, it's like when you're favored by God, you're favored by the devil.
Yeah. Yes.
So there's both of the because right now, the more that I lean into God, the more that I lean into my faith, the more that I lean into how to be a better man. There's all the distraction,
Mm,
all these opportunities, all these wave that coming to test you. So if you don't have something strong on the other side, to ground you, then it's a very tough life, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to try to tell anybody to believe
Yeah.
in anything, but I never used to pray until now. Like like you know those moments when you get in the truck and you just like it's a long day. And I
Mhm.
always pray before I go into the house because I don't want that energy to carry into the house. I want God to take care of those worry for me so
Yeah.
I can go in and be a husband, be a father, be a son, be
Yeah.
whatever role that I need to play for my community at that certain point in time.
Yeah.
So I think it's very true, man. You know, whether you believe on God or a certain higher being or set of value or whatever it is, that you can always lean back to your mission, your vision, and your value, and it doesn't have to be God. And everybody's journey with God is different. Some people might found God in when they're 50, 60. Some
Mhm.
people might already found him, and some people might be on the journey of exploring their faith. So whatever it is that your journey is in,
Yeah.
and again, this tie back to what you talked about earlier about um, people don't have identity, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So people don't have identity, so then they are willing to stick to anything that give them an identity. Do you know that we as a country as a whole have the highest gang activity, have the highest cult activity, have the
Yeah.
highest uh, religion-based activity, and some of those like I don't fully agree with, but that's another story for another day. But
Yeah.
that the reason why is we don't have we as kids, as children, or how we were raised. Like you told me, you grow up in an environment where it's very unstable.
Yeah.
So I believe that as children, young adults, we don't have enough direction
Yes.
and enough space to where you can find out who you are. Because like if you pick 10 people out the street right now and ask them what you want, I guarantee you behind that surface answer, 9 out of 10 people don't know what they want.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I believe it is a product of people telling us our whole lives who we need to be rather than making us safe enough to learn who we actually are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And we like I think that's kind of changes at you add more role into your life, right? More role into your life, your who you need to be, who you want to be, who what are you good at, and what are you seeing like all those things that is a journey we don't really know,
Yeah.
you know, until we and then again this tied back into faith. Until you have enough faith to pursue whatever you want to pursue at the fullest extent possible that you can possibly do with
Yes.
what you got right now, then you can't possibly know what you want. Like there's ideas here, 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 here. But if we don't go and execute that idea, go full force with that idea, like I said, you can't halfway in right here and like, oh man, it doesn't work out for me. You know, I'm like, okay, how many calls did you make? Oh, you called 2 people today. That's why it doesn't work
Yeah.
because you give up when we just begin. And again, well, I just don't think it's gonna work. No fake.
No
And
faith.
most of people problem can be solved by a little bit of faith in themselves. And but if you don't know who you are, you don't know what your mission is, you don't have conviction of who you really are and what you are here to do in the world,
Yeah.
that you can't possibly pursue anything.
Yeah. It's true,
That's
man.
that's my belief.
Yeah, no, it's very true. I like it. Love it.
So you say something about taking ownership. How
Yeah.
important is that in flipping your life around? I know throughout the process of you growing up and getting to where you are today, there's some mentor and some people that really important. But how important is it that taking ownership of your life change your world?
It changes everything. In everything that you do. Because here's the thing, like let's just say you're a leader. Let's just say you're a father. And your kids misbehave and they keep misbehaving and they show patterns. You as a father can sit there and point your finger at your kid, or you could look in the mirror and say, what am I doing wrong? And when you decide and you choose, I'm the owner of this home. I'm the man of the house. I lead. And if my kid keeps making the same mistakes, that's because it's my fault. And you take that ownership of the people that are around you, the people that you lead. Well, now you have control over changing the whole environment and making changes. And then that gives the kid a different environment to change himself. And so if we look at every part of life, every responsibility of life, there's a potential to fail. There's a potential to mess up, right? Whether it's leadership, fatherhood, running a business, or just personal development and growth. If everything's your fault, then you have full control of the then everything you change is also going to create a result. So what I mean by that is if you decide that my life is my fault, the good and the bad, and you don't like the bad, now you know because you put yourself here, you're allowed to change it. You give yourself permission to change things. You give yourself permission to take a failure and make it into a success through action. But if we don't take ownership and you say, it's not my fault, the government did it. The economy's bad, right? You've heard it a million times. Oh, it's because Biden's president. And so I just can't afford things. It's like, if you say, no, it's my fault, then you can start to see the actual problems in your life and you can find solutions to those problems. You can apply the solutions and then you can succeed in life. Like the difference between a successful person and a broke person is the successful person decided it was his fault, applied changes to those problems, solutions to those problems, and then he came out on the other side, the more successful person, right? All success is literally problem solving. All it is problem solving. And so the more problems you can solve, the more money you can make, right? You can't solve problems if you don't think they're your fault. And so you stay broke and you become invaluable to this world when you are a victim of your own circumstance. But if you take ownership of everything, now you have leveraged, you've positioned yourself in a way to where I'm in full control of my future. And I believe God gives us life, but I believe we create our life. I believe that. God gave us breath. He gave us a heartbeat. And yeah, he can control things. If he doesn't want you to have things, he can stop it. But we are the creators of our life. You know what I mean? And so it is up to us, the action we take, the mindset we have, the attitude that we have, doing those actions that's going to change our future, our environment around us. And we can't do those things if we don't take ownership of our current life right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that a lot in the business world, man. Especially these past couple of years when COVID just kind of, COVID give, especially in my industry, where COVID give a lot of people a full sense of security, almost full sense of the lead flow, full sense of full sense of demand because people are not buying more home. They staying at the home, working from home, so there's more remodeling, there's more free money from the government, all that kind of stuff that coming in. So now all of a sudden everybody is a bona fide business owner, right?
Yeah.
2023 roll around where all the free money start, interest rates start hiking up, or all of a sudden business go back to what it was pre-COVID, and then people like, well, it's the government. Well, it's this. Well, it's that. Uh, but what I think it was is just the market is now starting to respond to all this stimulus and is trying to condense and crunch, and those who used to wait for the market to bless them with whatever they can get is those same people struggle 2023, 2024, and in 2025 some of them will close doors because they didn't set up a good foundation, or they didn't take ownership of their success or their failure. And I see it all the time, and even right now, like there's in the industry, in the construction industry, I'm sure it's the same in the coaching or whatever industry that everybody else is in. There's two camps. The first camp is you're doing really well. Economy is good. People are buying, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. The second camp, there's no middle ground. The second camp is like, well, it's the election year. Nobody is buying. Everybody waiting until after the election. People are raising price. But all reality is they just sucks at client acquisition, and now it shows. And instead of taking a couple marketing course, learning how to market themselves, build a brand, personal brand, business brand, whatever brand it is that you're building. Instead of doing that, go getting sales training, hiring people to help you out, hiring coaches. They sit there and bitch and moan and cry about, the market condition. But the reality is there's always one guy in anybody market that is crushing it, right? There's always that one or two guy that is completely murder everyone in his path because he know that it's his fault that for his success, and he's gonna continue to press the pedal to the metal, and then there's no way you can catch up to that guy,
Right.
if you don't act like that guy. So this is why religion works so well, because like it's the be do have thing. Well, if you want to be somebody, you got to do the thing that they do, and then you can have the thing that they have. If you want to be more godlike,
Yeah.
you got to ask the question, what would Jesus do? What would God do? And then you got to do those actions, and then you become in his image. So that's why it's so powerful. Like, you ever talk to somebody that have been saved by God?
Yeah.
They have that conviction where they talk about it like like you want to run to the wall when you hear those people talk.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the conviction that your life is your choice, and especially here in the US, man, like, people are not by the circumstances that they think they are.
Right.
Like, I've known people that been to prison 7 times. I know people that rob banks. I know people that like do all this stupid shit when they were young, and me myself included. And it doesn't take that long to turn your life around. 6 months, a year, 2 years. But if you put your whole force, your whole mindset into it, then I believe that it's possible, right? So that's why I believe in, like, ownership is one of the things that is one of my core value. And then I wrote down something here in that everything you talk about recognizing pattern. You're talking about, like, everything that happening in the world. If you want to change it, it has to start with you.
Exactly. That's it. That's all you have control over.
Right.
That's
And
it.
control the controllable, right? Control the input and fuck the output, right?
Yeah. If you try to control the uncontrollable, you'll drive yourself crazy.
Yeah. I see that a lot. People look at the P&L where people look at the P&L, people look at how much sales they make this month, when that's not really the number that we should be tracking for, because that's the after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the after the fact. You already done it. You already done it. The result, it's just a scoreboard of what your action is 90 days ago. And people should be tracking the input, which is, well, did you go to the gym today? Well, that's, oh no. Oh, how about the last 30 days? Oh, that's why you gained 5 pounds. Well,
Yeah.
did you make phone calls today? Did you actually trying to get lead? Did you follow up with your people? Oh no, you didn't do any of that. Well, then where the hell you think the sales gonna come from? You know,
Totally.
so it's hard for people to conceptualize, but big company already figured it out. Amazon already figured it out. All they track is the inputs. How many calls you did today? How many seconds? Like they wears out how many seconds for them to move this over here. And the result, when they stop tracking the result triple. You know, how many leads did you go see today? How, so it's hard because people just don't. And you in fitness, people don't track shit.
Right. Well, what you track, you can scale, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with money. So like that is the second painful truth that I talk about, that every man must hear. And it's not just men. If you have a woman listening, this is important for you too. The balance of your bank account, it mirrors your relationship with money, right? And it's so true, right? This is something I've struggled with most of my life, because I was home. You guys heard my story. All of these painful truths are because my past. Like, I didn't have a great life. I had to learn these painful truths on my own the hard way. And after being homeless for 2 years, absolutely no job, nothing at all, and no one to call, it creates a scarcity mindset. And it's very hard to get out of that. You know what I mean? And so you have to look at your mindset and say, like, am I living in fear, or am I living in abundance? And like, but the other thing is that what you were saying about tracking is important. Is the one thing I see amongst all people that are financially struggling is that they do not manage their money. They don't know where it's going. They just pay their bills, and they hate doing it, by the way. But why would anything grow if you don't manage it, right? Like, you don't get healthier by avoiding exercise. Your marriage does not get stronger by avoiding your wife. But why would your money grow if you're avoiding it, right? What you water will grow. But another perspective is like, how do you feel when you pay your bills? Do you hate it, or do you actually love it? And so this is the mindset. This is an exercise I tell people to do. You should get to the place where you love paying your bills, where it is a reward for you, where it is like, oh, this is a blessing. Because if you're the guy that pays your bills and you're like, I don't even want to look at the mail, I don't even want to look at my bank account, like, that is a big problem. And so the perspective change is understanding, like, let's just say utility bill, where, like, instead of just paying the bill, think about all the things the electricity powered this month. How much money did that electricity make you with your business? It was 110 degrees and you ran your AC, your kids didn't die. All right, let's go deeper than that. Think about all the power poles that were set throughout the street, and all the wires that were hung between those power poles, and all the people that had climbed those power poles. Like, are you grateful yet? No. Okay, what about all the families that were fed from the linemen? The linemen climbed those poles, your bill's feeding their family. Are you grateful yet? And you can just keep going layer after layer until you're like, oh my gosh, dude, like, I'm selfish. Like, this bill is providing so much value to my life and to other people's lives. And if you can start to change your perspective on your bills, like, it starts to change your perspective on money and your relationship with money. Like, we should be grateful for every penny that comes in, and grateful for every penny that goes out. And what we value, we manage. What we manage grows. So talking about the tracking part, but also the attitude that we have on things is massive. because we can do the work, bro. But if we have a bad attitude calling those leads, it ain't gonna work out the way you want them to, you know, to call those leads and be like, and just be grateful that you even have them changes everything. Changes everything.
Yeah, that's so true, man. And the two thing at that I talk about this a lot in my little coaching group, but the two thing that everybody should practice every day is gratitude and perspective,
Mm,
because because uh for I can speak to my life personally, but gratitude is you're just grateful to be here, to be alive. And what I always tell people in the US is like, oh man, that's like this country is the biggest socialist country ever, because there's food stamp, there's safety net, there's social workers. So what where I'm going with this is you can't possibly fail. You can't possibly go hungry unless it's your choice,
right.
right? So if you're grateful to be here in the land of opportunity, because I lived in Vietnam for the first half of my life, and there's no social economic movement. Like where you were born, that's where you will probably stay unless something drastically happened, like coming to the US, which is that's a golden opportunity for the whole family back there.
Right.
Uh, so that play into perspective, right? Like we are here, we got an opportunity to wake up and make an impact. But go down to the Texas border. How many people are waiting out there to cross, risking their life? Why is that? You know, I was talking to one of my business partner. He's from Mexico, because the prospect of their minimum wage over here, they cross the border. That's 10x. That's
Yeah.
10x earning power. Why people risk their lives, right? Let's go a little bit deeper. Why people risk their life? Let's put politics aside for a minute. Why do people risk their life to come here illegally? No status.
Yeah.
Why? Because the life is not that good over there. It's all suffering. Over here, they have hope. And even like even in our country, there's stuff that you can fix. There's stuff that can be better. There's things with the government, blah 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 blah. But we're not gonna let the person that living in the US die by hunger. So you
Right.
solve the hunger problem, you solve the sanitary problem, you quote unquote maybe solve the housing problem. Uh, but so what is there to be afraid of?
Yeah.
So that's I go to this exercise every day just so I can prime my mind up uh, to run a business and deal with people, because people is a lot. And so I'm grateful to be here with the opportunity. I have perspective that anybody could be here right now, but
Mm,
why me? So I'm blessed.
yeah.
Even if I have a problem, well, I'm blessed to be dealing with this problem right now,
Yeah.
because the problem, they would teach me something that I didn't know, right? Uh, like like when I first started this business, which is 2020 in the midst of COVID, I broke my leg a month in. And hindsight, I thought that was the worst thing that happened to me. I hate
Right.
life. I just started this. I'm gonna be out for a while. But now looking back, it's a blessing in disguise, because now that I can't physically get the work done, you know what happened? I hire people to get the work done. So
Right.
if I didn't break my leg, if that didn't happen, it would probably take me a year, 2 years, 3 years to get out of the field. But now I instantly get out of the field. So then we were able to scale faster, and I had a yoga moment. I'm like, oh, I don't physically have to be the one who's doing it anyway,
Right.
and I'm not that good at it anyways. Other people are better than me. So
Yeah.
without that perspective, you can't move on. you know, because a lot of people, uh, like I say, a lot of people come to me and complaining about you know, they shut down their business. But if I were to go into anybody's business right now, run to their book, run to their list of client, run to their list of neighborhood that they're in, I guarantee you I can find 100 grand in anybody's book. What did you go out and knock the neighborhood you were in? Oh no, why not? Oh, it's just too much. I'm like, well, well, you're not willing to do the work. But did you
Yeah.
call all your past clients back and ask for a couple of introduction? No, you didn't do. Oh, free money. I guess you don't like. Did you call all your open lead? Those are free things that anybody can do right now, but they're not doing it because they just want somebody to call them, wanting to buy whatever it is that you're selling, and expect them to spend 30 grand.
Right.
Like that don't happen like that. Not like that. And not when you're struggling with leads, right? So all right, man.
Love it, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
If your audience wants to hear the other two truths,
Yeah,
guys,
go ahead.
check out my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I got a great bunch of great videos on there. If you guys want to look, it's the Immortal Man is what it's called. I'm sure you'll find me. But I also
What
go ahead.
what does it mean to be immoral?
So the Immortal Man represents Christ, right?
Okay.
So Christian,
That's what I figure.
and you don't have to be a Christian to be a part of our program. But I believe that whether you believe in him or not, as he's like him being your Lord and Savior, we do know that he was a real person, and we do know that he is a good he is a good model of what masculinity is: the sacrificial love, the willingness to follow his purpose fully and even die for it. The way he built his team and he led them. And that's part of what we do here is we actually take a look at Jesus's 33 years on earth, and we teach you how to lead like him and build your teams like him and create a common purpose like he did with his team, and leave a legacy like he has. I think that we're all here to do some great things, and there's a lot to learn through the Bible. And so we use biblical principles to do that, but you don't have to be a Christian to be in the program. But most of the guys are. And the other thing that we've really focused on is brotherhood. Men don't have the community that they need. There's a lot of men that, they're just kind of grinding their teeth through life and they need support. And guess what? We can't tell our wife our problems. We can't tell
No.
our friends our problems. If you're a leader, people rely on you and depend on you. You can't just go tell people your problems. That is a truth. We've all been bit in the ass by doing that. So we all retract, but we all need support. So if you're a leader, a man, a father, a husband, this is something that we provide in our programs, but also in our free Facebook group as well. We have a massive support system, the Immortal Man Facebook group. If you want to drop the link in your details here for them, it's completely free. And then we also run a Bible study on Wednesdays. So I'd love to invite you guys there. So jump into that Facebook group and come talk to me.
Yeah, so where can we find you? And I'm sure my people will reach out and get all the information to publish this podcast. But right now, is somebody listening right now? It's like, man, Eric and Lauren, they're speaking to me right now. I'm in a place where I need somebody to talk to right now. I need to get in touch with somebody right now. Otherwise, things are going to turn out pretty badly. Where can they instantly find you?
I would just search me on Instagram, the real Eric Rogers, no spaces, no symbols, the real Eric Rogers. You'll find me, and hit me up in my DM. Whether you need help or you listen to this podcast and you liked it, just tell me you listened. I would love to hear who's listening and meet some cool people. So feel free to reach out and just I answer my DM. So let me know you heard.
Yeah. So Ed, if you were to have one advice right now, and going out to you talk about addiction a lot, and it's something that I've been struggling with. It's something that everybody, whether or not they say it publicly or not, I know that everybody struggle with some sort of addiction, legal, whether the substance is legal or not. I still call it addiction. So, what would you say to somebody that is in that phase where it's like they're not feeling like they're contributing to society. They're not feeling like, their life is going down a good path.
Yeah.
But then if somebody offered them a bump, they still take it. If somebody offered them a cigarette, they still smoke it. If somebody offered them a drink, they still drink it. If somebody, rolled up a joint, they still smoke it
Yeah.
because they have no control over their life. What was the first step you would what was the first advice you would give to those people who in the deepest part of their heart wanted to change but are frozen, unable to,
Yeah.
or doesn't have the power to?
And that's truly what we focus on, right? Identity is everything. So the thing that's missing in your life is not knowing exactly who you are and what you're capable of, right? If you knew truly what you were capable of, it would be no problem for you to turn around and walk away from everything bad for you and build the life that you want. But it's a process. It's not a one-day thing. It's not a one-liner. Identity is combined with a few aspects. Number one is your personality, right? God made you uniquely. You're not like everyone else. And so number one is you have to accept that. You have to figure out who you are. Like, what's your personality? What type of person are you? And understand that a lot of the things you can change, but some things you can't. Some things you should accept and some things you shouldn't. The second thing it's combined with is your purpose in life. A man without a purpose is, again, it's like the faith thing. A man without a purpose is an unstable man, right? Because when you have a purpose and that drug or that addiction pops up in front of you, it's a lot easier to say no because it's not who you are. It doesn't align with your purpose. No, that's not why I'm on this earth. So to understand your purpose is key, and understand why God uniquely created you to be on this planet. You weren't here to just work a 9 to 5, kick your shoes off and drink beers at the end of the night. You're here for something way, way bigger. And otherwise you wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? The third thing is your core values. You have to have them. You can't live without values. You have to know what they are too. What are the 3 most important values that you just that you feel weird when you're misaligned with it? When someone does something, it just hurts you. Like, what are those 3 values? Live by them. Only have friends that have those values. Only do things that align with those values. It's a compass of life. It allows you to make the right decisions and hang out with the right people. And then fourthly is your mission in life. You got to have a reason to get out of bed every day. You know what I mean? You have to have a reason, and it has to be bigger than you, right? Like, my mission is to impact men, or my mission is to help men take their power back so they can impact people around them. That's what gets me out of bed. I know if I don't get out of bed, then that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, no, I got to get up, bro. I have a mission today. A man with a mission is also a very stable man. He's a man with energy. He's a man with intention, right? So those 4 things are absolutely key. And those are the 4 things that we focus on in this program. So come join us. You know what I mean? That's the coolest part of what we do. The first 5 weeks, I guarantee you're going to have your power back, and you're going to know exactly who you are and what you want in this planet. And it's the coolest thing ever to see these men go from powerless to like, fuck, killing it, absolutely killing it. And it's simply because of identity.
It's so good, man, so good. So if you're listening to this and you struggle, hit up Eric. I feel like we pretty much align on the mindset and the core value and the mission and the vision, and all that stuff. Because without vision, the people perish. Without mission, then you're just running around in circle. Without the core values, you're not a real man.
True.
You're a man without principle. right? And a man without principle would do unspeakable things when being courted by the devil. So so hey man, I appreciate you so much for coming on and spending an hour with us, with me personally, and we'll be in touch.
All right, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on.
All right, man.
All right.
You know I'm a hustler, hustler. You know I'm a hustler, hustler.